whenever we feel whatever's considered a bad emotion, naturally we're going to try to suppress it. And then our attention, because we're alive, has to go somewhere, and then it goes into our mind, and our mind is mean.
My guest today, Josh Pais, was raised in a world most of us can't even imagine. His father was a physicist who worked with Einstein. His mother was a poet and a painter. And he grew up immersed in a clash between logic and creativity, precision and chaos. And that collision led to a breakthrough. For decades, Josh has worked with award-winning actors, world-class entrepreneurs, and experts in virtually every field, helping them to stop battling their minds and start using every emotion, every doubt, every nerve, everything they feel to unlock unstoppable presence. Presence is something that we work to cultivate here at Crappy Childhood Fairy. Trauma can wound your ability to really be there with other people. So I wanted to bring Josh on. You've seen him for years. He's been on Ray Donovan, The Joker, The Sopranos, A Beautiful Mind, Sex and the City. He even played Raphael in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But behind the scenes, he's been teaching a method so powerful, it rewires how you show up under pressure. Josh Pais, welcome to the Crappy Childhood Fairy. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
I just discovered your work and your upcoming book coming out, Lose Your Mind. That was a title that was like, I was like, what? How can we do that? And then I found out what you were saying. And I found so much resonance between what people are going through with living with the effects of trauma in childhood and what you're teaching to help people get out of their heads, get more into their bodies, and start having a new understanding of what emotions are there for.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to talk to you about that. Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. My absolute pleasure. I'm an actor. When I first got out of acting school, I started auditioning, and it was horrendous. I was just had so much fear. I had so much anxiety. I had so many debilitating thoughts in my head. And I really got to a place where I thought I had to give it up. It was just like at home, I could, create some stuff. And as soon as I put myself out into the world at any level, all these things started happening. And I reflected back to a story that happened when I was 6 with my father. I have this story in the book. And I didn't know, when I was 6 years old, I didn't know what his job was. And he had this floor to ceiling blackboard, and he would do these, with chalk, do these enormous things that he called calculations. And then he'd rub some off with his shirt and keep going. And I knew what other kids in New York, what their dads did, and, bus drivers or drug dealers or school teachers, just normal kind of New York City dad things. And when I asked him, I kind of had to pin him down. I felt like I was pinning him down. I was like, what do you do? What is your job? And he could see my concern. And I was sitting next to a small table, and he said, do you see that table that you're sitting next to? I was like, yeah, but get to it. And he said, you see your knee? I was like, yeah. And then he said, the smallest part of that table and the smallest part of your knee are the same things. They're atoms. And then he kind of packed his calculations in his briefcase and went off to work. The side note is my dad was a theoretical physicist who worked with Einstein. And so he was a brilliant, creative scientist.
Yeah.
But reflecting on that story, when I had all that anxiety, I was like, well, if my body is made out of atoms, then emotions must be atom related. And as I started to feel the emotions, for example, when I was feeling anxiety, what I was feeling was like a kinetic vibrational frequency in my upper chest. So when I then went back to auditioning and started to just feel the vibrational frequency, it took me out of good and bad. It was just like there was just this juice that's happening. And that I was able then to experiment how to make that juice, those vibrations, into creative fuel. And, I think, there's a chapter in my book called The Greatest Myth of our time. And I think that the greatest myth of our time is that there are good emotions and bad emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we buy into that paradigm, whenever we feel whatever's considered a bad emotion, naturally we're going to try to suppress it.
Right.
And as soon as we suppress our body, we're signaling to our nervous system, I don't want to feel you.
Mm-hmm.
And then our attention, because we're alive, has to go somewhere. And then it goes into our mind, and our mind is mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like it doesn't say nice things. And if it does say nice things, it just will then lure you into saying bad things. And that's
Yeah.
we can talk about that, but that's just a protective device to keep us small,
Yeah.
because somewhere in our lineage, someone survived by staying small. And then that gets passed down, that survival strategy. And then, but now, let's say with our ancestor, that was the perfect survival strategy. But it's not the perfect survival strategy anymore. And so we also have to realize, as anybody extends further out into the world with their work, with their relationship, with trying something new, the body is going to increase its vibrations. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're not ready. It doesn't mean you're not professional. It doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
And if we can just be like, I always say in my classes, like, we got to party with it. It's like, not manage it and not hold it as wrong. That's like going through the forest and going, that's a bad plant. That's a good plant. It's like, it's built into our DNA to feel everything that we feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My point of view, we have to increase our tolerance for our experience, not manage it. And
Right.
I know there's a lot
Yeah,
in
I
with
agree with you.
you, yeah, on the managing.
Yeah, and manage, even the word manage is a little bit strict. And
Yeah,
for myself, I wish I had been able to read your book when I was 14. I, I was a theater kid, and I lived in Tucson, Arizona, where there was very little theater, certainly not roles for kids. And I had no idea. I had these like hippie parents who were very like sucked into their own problems and weren't really paying attention. Like, how would a theater kid sort of figure things out and practice her skills? But there was a musical theater somewhere, and I took the bus to the musical theater and auditioned for a role, and I sang a song. I sang "I Am 16 Going on 17," and it was all I could do not to pee on my shoes. It was all I could do. I was shaking so bad and I couldn't get my voice out, and it was so humiliating. And it wasn't like me. I
yeah.
was
I've
such a delightful, expressive kid, but that
I've
it's
been
just,
there. I've been there.
yeah.
I know all about it. Yeah.
And then I didn't do it again.
Right.
Yeah. I thought, well,
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So life has helped me a lot, but to figure out what to do with that feeling, what to do with it. But I had never heard that I, when you say it, it makes total sense to me. Like I recognize the feeling, but I've never had that frame for me that it's just energy in your body and it's moving around and
It
it's
is.
okay.
Yeah. It's just what it is. It's not good. It's not bad. It's
Yeah.
just, this is, on some level, my book is about living in a human body, and it vibrates and
Yeah.
it generates, and nothing against psychology or anything, but there's a lot of information out there that if you're feeling this and you call it and give it a name like nervous or fear or anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
that then there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. And then that ends up, as we were talking earlier, like that ends up putting you in your head. And it's like, there's something wrong with me and this is bad. And then that just stagnates this natural flow. Like the body is constantly generating new information,
Yeah.
whereas the mind is generating the same narrative repeatedly.
What I love about your approach is that it's sort of like open-minded about where all of this is going. And I love that because I know for myself and what I teach to my people who had early trauma and are just trying to free themselves up from that whole identity, that whole rigidity of their reaction to things, is that you don't have to know where it's going. In fact, it's better not to know. I call it like grabbing it by the horns. You know, I'm going to take my emotions here. I'm going to create this state that's the right state, and then I'll be able to do it. I've had this glorious experience of that. I can release it,
Hmm.
and then the natural feelings just come at it right sized.
Yeah. And the more that we follow this
Yeah.
train of sensation,
Yeah.
the quieter this becomes.
Hmm.
And from my point of view, I would rather feel alive and vibrations than listen to how I suck,
Oh my gosh. I
and
mean, it drives people to the worst things that have ever been done by humans,
absolutely,
including self harm. And
absolutely. Addiction,
yeah,
domestic abuse, war, like
yeah,
all of it is because we don't know how to live in our body. And as a result, all these other behaviors develop because there's this great myth that I'm feeling the wrong thing. There's something wrong. I have to fix it. I have to, I'll ingest this and maybe that'll make it different. But there's no, it's really, this is, as I said, this is what it's like to live in a human body. And it's a great party if we just hold like, okay,
yeah,
and sometimes it's intense. Sometimes it's like going over, a roller coaster, but
yeah.
it's just vibration. And it's like you can increase your tolerance for it. And that's kind of a lot about what the book teaches.
Okay, I got to ask. So I grew up in a commune. I read you grew up in Alphabet City with a artist mom who had performance art in the living room with people who were on drugs, and there were junkies on the front steps, and you had to walk them up and down the block so they didn't die
Yeah,
as a kid. And I was like, did that affect you?
of course. Um,
Yeah.
how did it affect me? I mean, at this point in my life, I just feel like all of it was like absolutely perfect. It just
Hmm.
taught me everything. And as an actor, like being exposed to this wide swath of people, you know, and
Yeah.
and my parents were divorced and my dad was in the whole scientific community and I just got
Yeah.
exposed.
Polar opposite, mom and
Yeah,
dad, huh?
but it,
Yeah.
living in a really dangerous neighborhood, it was like it physically for I think a long time I was in like a protect. My body was I was ready for something to happen because there was violence, all around, and so it took a lot of practice to like let myself feel more so that I didn't have to protect against, violence that was no longer there.
In the face of violence, I'd be a few people will get very like big and bear like. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a violent home and I would make myself very small, just
Yeah.
very small and quiet. I had a very good reflex for just like shut it down.
Yeah. And my neighborhood, my survival strategy, which I think was very good, was that I had to be invisible, like walking
Yeah.
the streets. Nobody, take notice, and
Yeah. So it's really remarkable though that you would then become one of the most visible sorts of people there are, actors.
right.
Yeah. Is all out there.
Yeah.
And that you're using a technique. Well, tell us about your technique and how first I'm very interested on how you were able to access your creativity after an upbringing that demanded that you shut it down.
I also have to say on the flip side of this neighborhood that was violent and very tumultuous, it was also incredibly creative and
Yeah.
expressive. Everything was out there. People were making art. Like you mentioned, like there was performance art in my living
Yeah.
room. So it was just like it was everything and a lot of it.
Well, I know there's a story about breaking glass, but
Okay.
that just fascinates me. But that you you didn't always have that free access to your creativity.
Yeah.
Some key events happened.
Well, yeah. So the breaking glass, I went to acting school. Spent a year in London, and we had rehearsed this play, and everything was set. Every line, every intonation, every turn, everything was set, and I felt safe and secure. And I was like, okay, my biggest goal was to get through it, without making a mistake. And we rehearsed and rehearsed, and it was like locked in. Okay, got it. And then during the performance, I dropped a glass of stage wine. I was drinking, and it fell out of my hand. And all of a sudden, I looked down and looked at the other actors, and all of a sudden, even though this was a mistake, all of a sudden we saw each other for real in that moment. We weren't seeing our preset locked, what everything shattered,
Hmm.
but something opened up, and we actually began doing this remainder of the scenes of the play, like really talking to each other. It snapped us out of a preset way of working. In that year of London, that evening of that happening is was my biggest takeaway. And that we have to, I mean, everything that I teach started applies to actors, but it applies to everyone. And that we have to have the bravery not to be on a preset in terms
Hmm.
of also of people that sell things or in a relationship or
Hmm.
of going of
Or on YouTube.
what, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so much safer to suppress ourselves and have a preset, technique. But
Yeah.
in this day and age, from my point of view, that doesn't interest people. People want to feel you, and that takes bravery to allow yourself to own all these vibrations. And that's what makes an audience wake up.
Yes.
If we're managing ourselves, the audience, it's like basically we're saying we're disconnecting from ourselves. So how can an audience connect to us when we're not letting ourselves connect to ourselves? And the more we connect to all this, the more the channel of communication and reaching people opens up.
Yeah.
And in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's scary because it's much safer to be shut down. But as we open up, initially it's like, whoa, but then like you cross this little threshold, and then it becomes fun, and then life becomes like juicy and alive and spontaneous.
Yeah. And something real can happen. And
Yes.
isn't that what we're so sad about? Like, just there's just not enough real life. That's like
Yeah.
the feeling of life passing you by. It's the worst feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. But we
And
have access, I think it starts with tuning into the body. I mean, I have four access points to
yeah,
presence.
to talk about that. It's the most clear explanation of what presence is.
There are four access points, and when you play with any combination of them, and sometimes you need to play with all four, it will 100% of the time bring you into the present moment. And so, since we've already been talking about the body is one of the access points. And
Hmm.
feel, and if you're listening or watching, you can just tune into like, what is the energetic pattern in your body right now? Like, feel where things are moving. For me, like there's like kind of right in the center of my chest, it's kind of like bubbly, like it
Uh-huh.
feels like that, energetically. My stomach's a little spinny. Um, so just feeling this information, and basically what these four access points, we're not trying to get out of our thoughts because they're going to just continue, but we want to shift what we listen to. And so by increasing your awareness of your body, that's a big shift.
Hmm.
Another thing is to take in your immediate environment. Very often when we enter a room, enter an environment, we check for familiarity and safety, and then we tune out and don't see it anymore.
Hmm.
And but by connecting to what is there and seeing what's in front of you in terms of color, shape, texture, lightness, and darkness, almost seeing how a baby or a dog would see, like literally seeing what's there. Like I'm looking at the corner of my computer screen and it says, the date and the time. But if I just literally see the shapes and let go of my interpretation or understanding, something happens and
Yeah.
gets quiet and the nervous system settles.
The nervous system has
Yeah.
been called back.
Yeah. You're really seeing what's there. And that's key. I think, I know you are very wise about trauma, but I think when people are having an episode, for lack of a better word,
Hmm.
it's like they don't they've lost their immediate environment. It's like seeing it and
Hmm.
staying into the detail, feeling this detail.
Yeah.
Then the next one, and there's no order to these, is to breathe, but breathe to feel. Almost like you're putting gasoline on the embers of sensation. Breathe to feel, not breathe to get rid of what we're feeling. And there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of breathing out there that teaches that,
Uh-huh.
but that'll eventually lead us back into our head. Because if
Uh-huh.
we do anything to disconnect from our body, we might be able to do that, but then this thing is going to fire up.
Hmm.
So it's breathe to feel. So take a breath and aim it into whatever the loudest sensation is in your body and just like, and see. So body, breath, immediate environment. And then the last one is one of my favorites. It's I'm back. And that is, as soon as you're aware, you might be in a conversation, you might be anywhere, and all of a sudden you realize that your mind has pulled, you haven't heard anything that's been said. Hopefully
Yeah.
that happened for somebody listening today. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's natural if it does. So the mind pulls us out. We don't even know it's pulled us out. And then we
Hmm.
moment like, wow, I've just been, in a whole spinner.
Hmm.
And then in my classes, people say, I'm back. As soon as you realize that you've left, say, I'm back.
Hmm.
The more you can do that in your day to day life, sometimes you can't always say it out loud, the more you're training yourself to not get lost in this. And every
Yeah.
time I'm back, you're building a muscle to stay here.
That's a very useful phrase. It's simple and true. And it would be very appropriate in the method that I'm teaching to be able to like say it. It helps so much to sometimes say, like I'm having a flashback, or
Right.
I'm in the middle of emotional dysregulation right now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the more vicious side effects of growing up with trauma is its nervous system dysregulation, which everybody gets some of, but that early trauma can make it very hard to come back from. It
Yeah.
makes it harder to come back from. So
Yeah.
we learn techniques to do that, which have everything to do with proprioception. Sometimes going outside for seasonoception. I just make up words for things.
Yeah.
What time of dayoception is it? Just
Right.
to be like, I'm here, I'm back, I'm
Yeah.
back, and the nervous system just loves that, and it goes, okay, I feel safe now. I know you're with me. I know you're watching out for me,
Right.
and you can kind of come back on. I'm really trying not to use computer analogies. Back online or wired. There are no wires. We're not online. We're just like here. We're here.
Right.
This is so interesting. When we talk about like expressing your gifts, you're like that's the great tragedy for people who were badly traumatized as kids is they have gifts, they're sitting there like pushing against their consciousness going, come on, I need to be expressed, you're here for this great purpose. But it's very hard to either access, and for a lot of people hard to have the conditions that are needed to do something new or expand your horizons like that.
Yeah.
And I think that healing from a terrible past is the point isn't just to feel better. Initially, it is like just to not kill yourself, just to not like completely ruin all your relationships. Those were my early goals.
Hmm.
And I got that pretty quick when I learned to re-regulate. There was no word for dysregulation or re-regulation, but I learned how to do it,
Hmm.
and then things started to get better. But what I've discovered over the last 30, 31 years of doing these techniques to keep re-regulating my nervous system is that it then becomes possible to like detect. It's like, I see a red flag over there, or this is hilarious. I can suddenly like feel the environment I'm in and
Mm.
come out of it. It's almost like it's a membrane around you or something.
Right.
And so I think back, I feel a little bit of sadness talking to you because I'm just remembering myself and all my talent at the time, when I
Yeah.
was living in LA in my early 20s, and how much it got, I got chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
I got just completely like brought down. I had a fever for a year. I couldn't work,
Yeah.
and nobody knew what it was back then. It was the 80s.
Right.
And it's taken me a very long time to sort of equilibrate and come back to my creativity with
Yeah.
this. And I've sort of intuited some of these things, but I'm just so delighted to hear it put so succinctly. I think this is a great book.
Oh.
Obviously, I mean, so many people have come to you for coaching with it.
Regardless of our past, regardless
Yeah.
of anything, as I was saying before, we just have to know, like, as we step further out, there's going to be more vibration.
Yeah.
Just to be gentle and just to like feel it non-judgmentally, like just,
Yeah.
and then you can start taking up more space and you'll see your nervous system, you'll see you're not going to die basically.
Yeah.
And it's almost like sometimes, I talk about in the book, it's sometimes you just need to go like, we're okay. We're not dying. We're just going
Yeah.
to start feeling some more stuff.
Uh-huh.
You have more and more room to play in. And,
Yeah.
and going back to these four access points, when they're at play, that's what opens the creative channel.
Uh-huh.
Great art happens not out of logic,
Yeah.
could be a logical person that does it, but it's in these moments where everything's connected and it's just comes through. And that's what creative invincibility, the
Yeah.
subtitle, the path to creative invincibility. And that is so that no matter what you're feeling,
Uh-huh.
no matter what thoughts are in your head, you can do your best work. And that's what the book teaches.
It's a radical thought if you're terrified of what other people think. I mean, I can't I would
Well,
imagine for any.
if you're terrified of what other people think, you
Yeah.
have to recognize that's a thought.
What? Mm-hmm.
It's not, you're not, because your body doesn't know terrified of what other people think. Like, where in your body is terrified of what other people think?
Oh, okay. Tell me more about
It's
this,
a,
thoughts versus feelings.
well, it's so key to
Yeah.
recognize the difference between a thought and a body sensation. So, I mean, take imposter syndrome.
Uh-huh.
It's like, from my point of view, imposter syndrome is a combination of your mind saying you're an imposter, you're an imposter, you're an imposter. Here's the proof that you were an imposter. You can't, amidst a body sensation. And typically it's a body sensation that we have a low tolerance for. And then we suppress it. And then we listen to like, I'm an imposter. I'm an imposter. The positive in when your mind is dropping crap is that if you can not listen to the content, but just the fact that your mind is chattering like that is
Mm-hmm.
an indication that you've probably are barely breathing. You're probably not connecting to your immediate environment and you're not connected to your body. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you can I can now catch it pretty well. If my mind goes off, instead of I being pulled into a mental drama, it's like I'm back. It's like trying to pull me away.
Mm-hmm.
The content is irrelevant. There's a part of our brain that's designed to keep us in a mental drama. That's why I'm back is mighty.
Yeah.
And it's like And you might be I'm back, and then your mind is like, but you probably did I'm back wrong. And it's like I'm back again. Come in here, come in here, come in here. And then the more that you do that, in the beginning you're going to be like I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Wow, I'm never here. Blah blah blah. The more you do it, the more connected you are to what's real. And then when this goes off, it's like so clear, and it makes it so easy to come back.
Oh, that's really cool.
I think
That's
it's
really,
really cool too.
yeah. I mean, I feel like telling you it's harder for some of us than others. That
Well, can
like,
I tell you something about that?
yeah.
So when I'm teaching, if I'm doing a committed impulse workshop, what I teach is called committed impulse. When I'm teaching and talking about this stuff, like, and then we'll take a break, and like invariably, like somebody will come up to me like, I know what you're talking about. I get what you're talking about, but
But I'm different.
my mind is the worst. And everybody, and that's just your mind telling you that you have the worst mind. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I'll just say, if affirmations work, God bless. In my experience, we have to get completely out of the paradigm.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
mind wants you to be in there going like, I am a good person. I am a good person.
Oh, yeah.
And you're only doing that because your mind is going, you're not a good
You're
person.
not a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like literally I have this thing in the book, it's like if you had like a motorcycle helmet with speakers telling you crap, it's like, instead of trying to improve it, it's like, take that thing off and put it in the closet. Like, don't
Gosh, that's so
even,
weird. I
like,
call it
don't,
headphones with AC/DC
yeah,
blasting really loud, but trying to act like you heard what people are saying.
yeah. It's just
Same
like,
metaphor.
get out of that paradigm. No good is going to come out of it.
Yeah, it's noisy. It's noisy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, some people think of it as like a lack of control, but it's a when I hit bottom with my PTSD symptoms, I had been violently attacked on the street. They knocked me on a gang. They just like beat the crap out of me, knocked me unconscious, broke my jaw, my
Oh,
teeth.
so
And
sorry.
I had PTSD really bad and I could not control my thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned these techniques. So part of me is like, I just want to defend. There's times when you just can't. And so I would just say what was so helpful to me is because I was sent to a therapist and I would talk about it, but that would make it worse.
Yeah.
If I could write it, I could still express it,
Mm,
and then I could settle down inside and
mm,
be able to operate again. And
right.
within 2 weeks, I didn't have PTSD anymore.
Wow.
I was just like throttled. It was so bad. And I did that a couple times a day. I learned to meditate and my mind became crystal clear. I could sit and pay attention in a meeting for a
Mm,
whole hour. Nobody can do that.
mm,
I can't do it anymore. But I could do it then. I like snapped to attention and I was able to start experiencing both my inner self and the outer world.
mm.
And when you have that information, you can start to like make your life how you want it. You can
Yeah.
resolve problems. You can notice that you made a mistake. You can tell when something's not your fault. And you can
Yes.
tell when you're getting sick even. I used to not even have that clue. I would just like push myself forward. I didn't even know I was getting sick. So I was so out of touch with my body.
Yeah.
But I was going to say this thing about hippie moms. I've always had this aversion whenever people talk about getting in your body. Because our commune, it was like grown-ups having sex on the floor, very weird. And they're like, it's just bodies. Why are you kids so uptight about it? It was totally
Right.
weird and upsetting and wrong. And, just take your whole nervous system and just be like, do not cross,
Right. Right.
you freaking hippies out, out of
Right.
my room. And so that was just part of my wreckage, I guess. So whenever people say get in your body, I'm like, oh, here we go again. This is some
Right.
scheme where the guru has sex with you. I see.
It's like we have these abilities. We have
Yeah,
these
right.
abilities to feel our body. We have the ability to connect to what's around us.
Yeah,
We have the ability to consciously breathe. And
yeah,
they're there to snap us out of this. We
yeah,
have it. We have everything we need.
right.
But over time, like the mind has been put on the sacred pedestal
Yeah,
as the thing that we should be listening to.
yeah. And
But
the
the
memories and
creativity is in our
yeah,
body,
yeah, yeah.
in our mind.
Yeah, that's the well, this is really interesting. It's I'm just like I'm like having realizations in real time here of just like, well, I guess that's what's so tragic when people like hurt kids. You know, that's like the trouble with sexual abuse is it completely shuts a person off from their body. You know, I learned not that long ago one of the ways they figured out that there are health consequences to kids being neglected or abused, that there are surprising health consequences is they were some researchers at Kaiser Permanente and CDC. Okay,
Hmm.
cited there. Anyway, they they figured out they were studying women who were morbidly obese who were doing sort of extreme weight loss medically supervised, and they would get to some certain point and then they would suddenly just gain it back. And they were trying to understand why would they do that? That's so counterproductive. And they were, you know, projecting their understanding of reality on these the women in their study, and they asked for 1,000 different variables like, do you do this, did you eat eggs, did you take birth control, are
Right.
you blah, 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 do you have cancer in your genes? But they asked, were you sexually abused, and 80% had been sexually abused. So there was something that kicked off
Yep.
in their body, and it wasn't. And the thing what they projected, this went as gospel for years, oh, they're avoiding sex. But that's not what it is. It could have
Yeah.
been for a couple people. It causes endocrine changes.
Yeah.
So that whole need to divorce yourself from your body can't do its job. And it was changing how their body was handling insulin and
Absolutely.
leptin and hunger and, you know, satiation. Um, and so it was never what you thought, but that having to shut your body down out of necessity is like such a travesty.
Yeah.
And
And,
I've always wondered, like, why among all the kinds of abuse is sexual abuse so consequential to people? And
I
it's
think,
not uncommon.
we have the ability to shut ourselves down.
Yeah,
And that's a great ability to have as long as it doesn't become a lifestyle. It's like a
right.
great ability is that's a great ability to have as long I think
Yeah,
you're the expert, but I think when something intense happens, we shut it down
hmm,
and then start developing a lifestyle around
yeah,
protecting, not opening this thing up. And it's really all, if
yeah.
we break it down to energy, it's like we don't want to feel these intense vibrations
Right.
because, it feels too disruptive. And
Yeah, and
so,
also too vulnerable.
yeah,
If you're still living in a weird situation,
well,
it
yeah, but
this
let's
is your
say,
survival. Playing
yeah,
possum.
but also, putting on weight, for
Mm,
example, is a way to it's a way to manage and not feel
hmm.
like we
Numbing.
eat to numb. And
Mhm.
I could think as the weight starts coming off, I bet they were faced with, am I going to let myself feel some of these frequencies in my body?
Yeah,
And if you just play with on a physics, it's like something happens, we compress down, and this frequency is in here, and we use a lot of energy trying to contain that frequency. If we don't hold it as good or bad, but if it's a
uh-huh.
frequency, and if we don't increase our tolerance for starting to feel that, we're going to have to keep coming up with lifestyle techniques to
Right.
continue the suppression.
Avoidance. A thing called I call crap fit, where you fit yourself to crap. You fit yourself to unacceptable people and situations because
Yeah.
you're just so good at it. You're just like,
Yep.
that's okay. I can deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't
So
help
I just
thinking of
think,
you at 12 saving people from an overdose. And you
yeah,
said, it's just what we did.
yeah. I mean,
Good. That was
it
the right
wasn't,
thing at the time.
yeah, and it wasn't considered heroic. Like I'd
Yeah.
come out of my stoop and
Yeah.
somebody would be OD'd, and we would just put,
Yeah. Move them
walk him
around.
down the street, because if they
No
totally
Narcan.
went under, they wouldn't come back. And
Yeah.
but it was such part of the neighborhood that it didn't. It was just it
I've
was
been to modern day Alphabet City. I know it's a lot better, but it still wasn't
yeah.
great.
It's a hell of a lot better. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot better. I
yeah,
could tell you some stories though.
yeah.
I'm very curious. You've worked with all kinds of people who have different reasons they're blocked up. Like, what are some of the big reasons people need your help?
I mean, I think some of the biggest reasons is that they're stuck in their head.
Yeah.
They're have some form of stage fright, whether
Yeah.
it's they're actors or, um, we all have the equivalent of facing an audience,
Yes.
and that can be an audience of one or 10,000 if you're on online, and really training people to see that they can withstand the intensity of being with other people, and
Hmm.
just a practice, and that everybody has their place where it's like, oh, this is my boundary, and it's like, of like, I can't go, but then if gently, like, say, well, what, just take a look, and then it's like, oh my god, and then it's like, I don't have to live that way anymore. And in
Ah,
terms of creating, it just opens up people to step into the unknown as they're creating. And that's what an audience wants to see. In the book, I have a story about going to buy a Prius years ago, and I'd already had a Prius, and I went in and I was like, I'm going to get a black Prius. I know which one I want. And the salesman was just so on autopilot, telling me about the Prius, telling me about
no.
the Prius, and it was like, I know, I'm going to get it. And he was like, well, this feature you might not be aware of. And it's like, we don't, it's like I went to another dealership, because it's
Yeah.
like, we just, nobody want, people want connection, and it's so essential to our survival as a species to let ourselves connect with one another, not just online but offline, so that we can see that we're all in this together. And there's been like big incidents in New York City, like floods or 9/11, and after those times, like, people are like, they see each other and we're like, we're all in this together,
Hmm.
and it's beautiful. But
Hmm.
have to realize it's kind of amazing that we're have a body that we can even talk and pass ideas around.
Hmm.
Like, we need to have that kind of connection to one another in order to solve the big issues of the day.
Yeah. The never ending issues of day after day after day. It's it's in my best moments. In my best moments, I can suddenly see that people are just, not only are they delightful, but everybody's kind of working together in this big dance of cooperation to get
Yeah,
food on the table and the bus to run and the
absolutely.
light turns green and
I mean, it's pretty miraculous what, you know, on some level, it's miraculous what is working, like just
yeah,
those things.
yeah,
But it's also just key that we fire up our creativity, because the solutions to so many issues in the world,
yeah.
uh, they're available.
Come through the channel.
They're available, and it's just so important, especially for children, to like put creativity, at the as the key element.
Hmm.
Like, make something, do something, anything.
I don't know what I would have done without my creativity all my life. I'm 62 years old and I'm finally like totally like my whole life is creative. I make my living creatively. I support my whole family with creativity.
That's
I'm
awesome.
so grateful. Yeah. It took me a long time to get free. I was so hung up on thinking I was ugly and just
Right.
what I don't know. I don't even know what I thought. I just couldn't do it.
But that's just, and for everyone listening, we just have to know, we've all got really, I've been teaching people, when I'm not in a movie or a TV show for, 30 plus years, and everyone's got the worst mind.
Yeah.
And that's why we got to lose it.
That's a relief for me to hear.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And we just have to see it, not buy into it, not go
Hmm.
into get seduced,
Hmm.
mental drama.
Yeah. I
But
don't think we can really be happy until we're fully expressed like that.
yeah,
Like that's where the happiness is. I sort
yeah,
of began that story like first you think that like it's all about like not being sad anymore or not being totally alone anymore. And it is that, but then it's about becoming your full and real self and being able to express yourself. Because
Yeah.
people have, everybody's got this different sort of series of notes that get played through their creativity. And when you hear it, it's the most beautiful feeling when you hear that creativity coming out of yourself. And I use hear metaphorically, but it is like a vibration when it's coming
Yeah.
out. There's like this. I've had many art forms. Today it's making videos, but I remember the day when I realized you could basically throw me any topic.
Mm.
I used to do improv, for
Right.
years. That was
Right.
very good training for this. But you can throw me any topic and I can just riff on it. And it's this
Oh,
pleasure, to just do it without any kind of,
yeah.
to just access the intelligence that's here, but the presence of, to be in real time,
Yeah.
rather than just, yeah, I know what you mean. It's real time. And I was just talking to a priest actually about this, that truth is in reality, and your relationship to reality is where you are able to like apprehend truth. That's where you can recognize what it is.
Mm.
It's your mind interacting with reality.
Mm.
And I've been thinking about that for days. My mind interacting with reality is where truth is.
Mm.
It's yeah, and it's a pretty deep thought. I'd have to say more about it to say, but that's not the
Right.
same as saying that we all have a different truth and it's all true. But because I don't agree with that, it's either
Right.
it's true or it's not.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out through with our minds.
Yeah.
So
And
you'll
can I
get different.
say one thing just about sadness?
Yes.
Um, is that, and this took me a while, but if you stay with the purity of sadness,
Yeah.
like it can might be a slight heaviness in the upper body. That's how a lot of people experience, like almost like the atoms are coming
Hmm.
downward, and time tends to slow down.
Hmm.
But if you can relish in that and breathe and like groove on the, like it's almost the poetic beauty of sadness, like just like groove on sadness. It's like then you can let it'll move through.
Mm.
Not bad. It's just like it can just slow down time and be almost a clear, there can almost be clarity in sadness if you don't fight it and
Yeah.
hold it in the negative category. It,
Uh-huh.
it's just the atomic energy is settling. You know,
Yeah.
feel that what you're actually feeling, not the judgment of what you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Sadness is appropriate when things are sad.
Yeah. And it's natural.
It's natural and real. Well, thank you, Josh. This is like a whole can of worms for me. I'm going to have a lot to think about,
Okay, good.
and I
Just
really appreciate you sharing this insight with us and your lifetime of work helping people. So thank you for joining us today. And I think this is going to be just fireworks going off in the minds of all the people in my audience whose creativity is trapped right now. And so the book is called "Lose Your Mind."
yeah, it's lose. I
Yeah,
happen to have it right here.
come give
Uh,
us a little
it's
peep.
lose your mind,
Hmm.
the path to creative invincibility.
I love it.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you so much.
you're so welcome. It was a joy.